Good day, my friends. I want to remind you today that you are valuable. You are not ordinary. You were created with purpose, with talent, with a destiny. But too often we find ourselves trying to prove our worth, explaining why we deserve respect, or justifying the cost of our time, energy, and gifts. Let me tell you something. You don't have to explain what God has already approved. You see, when a jeweler puts a price on a diamond, they don't sit there trying to convince people why it's valuable. The price is set, and those who recognize its worth will pay for it. The same goes for you. You don't have to justify your dreams to those who don't believe in them. You don't have to lower your value just because someone else doesn't see it. Your value isn't based on people's opinions. It's based on who you were created to be. Maybe you've faced rejection. Maybe you've been overlooked. That doesn't decrease your worth. When someone walks away, when a door closes, don't shrink back and think you're not good enough. That's not a reflection of your value. It's simply a sign that they weren't meant to recognize it. Gold is still gold, even if someone walks past it. Stop explaining why you charge what you charge. Stop apologizing for walking in excellence. Stop trying to make others see what only the right people will recognize. If you know who you are, you can stand with confidence and say, I am valuable. I am gifted. I am worthy of honor. People may not understand your journey, and that's okay. When you hold firm to your value, the right doors will open, the right opportunities will come, and the right people will be drawn to you, not because you convinced them, but because they see what God placed inside you. You don't chase approval. Approval finds you when you walk in your purpose. So today I encourage you, know your worth. Stop explaining your cost. Walk in confidence. You are valuable, and nothing can change that. From the moment you were born, you were set apart. You are not an accident, not a mistake, and certainly not insignificant. You were designed with intention, with a purpose woven into the very fabric of your being. There is something unique about you, something the world has never seen before and will never see again. Your talents, your gifts, your voice, your vision. These are not random, they are divine. Too often we let circumstances, opinions, or past failures make us question our worth. But your value was determined long before any obstacle, rejection, or setback came your way. Think about a masterpiece hanging in an art gallery. Its value isn't based on how many people admire it or whether someone criticizes its colors. The artist, the creator, gave it value when they brought it to life. In the same way, your worth isn't up for debate. It isn't decided by the number of likes, approvals, or applause you receive. It was set by the one who created you. The world may try to put a price tag on you, but your value is beyond measure. No amount of success, failure, or human opinion can change that. Many people spend their lives searching for validation. They think if they achieve more, earn more, or prove themselves, then they will finally feel valuable. But true worth doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. If you base your value on what people think, you'll always feel like you have to earn it. One day, they approve of you, the next, they don't. One moment you're celebrated, the next you're overlooked. But when you understand that your value is built into who you are, you'll walk with confidence, knowing that nothing and no one can take it away. Imagine a $100 bill. You can crumple it, step on it, throw it in the dirt, but its value never changes. It's still worth the same amount. In life, you may go through difficulties. You may be hurt, betrayed, or face rejection. People may try to bring you down, but that doesn't change your worth. Just because someone doesn't see your value doesn't mean you don't have it. Their perception does not define you. You are still just as valuable, just as gifted, just as full of purpose as before. The problem is that many people allow their self-worth to be dictated by external circumstances. If they succeed, they feel worthy. If they fail, they feel worthless. But worth is not earned, it is inherent. A diamond doesn't become valuable after someone buys it. It was valuable before it was even found. Likewise, you don't become valuable when someone recognizes you. You don't become worthy when you achieve something great. You are already valuable because of who you are, not what you do. You have something to offer the world that no one else can. There are dreams inside you, ideas waiting to be birthed, gifts waiting to be unwrapped. But if you don't believe in your value, you'll never step into your full potential. You'll play small, shrink back, and settle for less than what you were created for. The greatest tragedy is not that people don't see your worth, it's that you don't see it yourself. You were made for more than just surviving. You were designed to thrive, to rise, to make an impact. When you know your worth, you stop settling for less than what you deserve. You stop tolerating mistreatment, undervaluing your gifts, and waiting for others to approve of you. You walk into every room with confidence, knowing that you belong. You pursue your dreams without hesitation because you understand that you are already enough. You no longer chase validation. You attract the right people, opportunities, and blessings because your mindset shifts from doubt to certainty. Many people let their past define their worth. Maybe you've made mistakes, taken wrong turns, or faced rejection, but your past does not determine your value. Just because you've been through hard times doesn't mean you are any less worthy. Some of the most valuable things in life, gold, diamonds, fine wine, go through intense pressure before they reach their full potential. The same is true for you. The struggles you've faced are not a sign that you are unworthy. They are shaping you into something greater. So stop looking for your worth in people, achievements, or external validation. Stop waiting for permission to believe in yourself. You are already valuable. You were created with purpose, and that purpose is calling out to you every single day. When you start living with that truth, everything changes. Doors open, confidence rises, and you begin to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. Too many people spend their lives trying to prove themselves, trying to convince others that they are talented enough, smart enough, or worthy enough to be respected. But let me tell you something. You don't have to justify your worth to anyone. You don't have to explain why you deserve that promotion, why you charge what you charge, or why you dream as big as you do. Your value is not up for debate. It is already established. Think about the sun. It doesn't ask permission to shine. It doesn't try to convince the world that it's important. It simply rises every morning and fulfills its purpose. Some days people appreciate its warmth. Other days they complain that it's too hot. But whether praised or criticized, the sun keeps shining. That's the mindset you need to have. Whether people understand your worth or not, keep being who you were created to be. The truth is, some people will never recognize your value no matter how much you explain yourself. And that's okay. It's not your job to convince them. When a store sets a price for a luxury car, they don't lower it just because someone says, I don't think it's worth that much. No, the price remains, and those who see the value will pay for it. The same applies to you. You don't have to lower yourself to fit someone else's expectations. When you constantly try to justify your worth, you are giving others power over your confidence. You are allowing their opinions to dictate how you see yourself. But what if I told you that their approval was never needed in the first place? You were already approved, already chosen, already valuable. The only validation you need is the one that comes from within. Some of the most successful people in the world were once overlooked, doubted, and misunderstood. But they didn't waste time trying to prove themselves to those who didn't believe in them. Instead, they stayed focused on their vision, and in time, the right people recognized their worth. That's what you need to do. Stop explaining and start walking boldly in your purpose. You don't have to explain why you have high standards. You don't have to justify why you protect your peace. You don't have to defend why you no longer tolerate toxic relationships. The right people will understand, and the wrong people don't matter. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment you step into true freedom. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. Some will question your decisions, doubt your abilities, or criticize your confidence, but that doesn't change who you are. Their perception does not define you. If someone can't see your worth, that's their loss, not yours. Today, I challenge you, stop justifying yourself. Stop explaining your greatness. Stop seeking approval from those who were never meant to recognize your value. Stand firm in who you are. Walk in confidence. Know that you are enough just as you are. A diamond is one of the most valuable and sought after gems in the world. But imagine if a diamond had emotions. If it could feel rejection, if it could be discouraged by people who walk past it without noticing its worth. Would that make it any less valuable? Of course not. A diamond is still a diamond, whether it's placed in a high-end jewelry store or buried deep in the ground unseen by anyone. Its value isn't determined by who recognizes it. Its value is inherent. The same principle applies to you. Your worth is not dependent on who acknowledges it. There will be people in life who fail to see your potential, who overlook your talent, who don't appreciate your heart. But that does not decrease your value. You were created with a purpose, with gifts, with something unique to offer the world. Whether people see it or not, your value remains unchanged. Think about this. When a jeweler finds a raw diamond, it may not look like much at first. It's rough, covered in dirt, doesn't shine like the polished stones in a display case. But just because it's unrefined doesn't mean it's worthless. The jeweler knows that underneath the rough exterior, there is something priceless waiting to be revealed. Likewise, some people may only see the surface of who you are. They may judge you based on where you are now, not realizing the greatness inside you. But just because they don't recognize it doesn't mean it isn't there. Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who fail to see your value. They've become so familiar with you that they take you for granted. They assume that because they've always had access to you, your worth is common. But let me remind you, familiarity does not equal value. Just because someone has known you for years doesn't mean they fully understand what you care. The reality is not everyone is meant to see your worth, and that's okay. A diamond is not for everyone. It is for those who can appreciate its rarity and beauty. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to be accepted by every person you encounter. You only need to walk confidently in the truth of who you are, knowing that the right people will recognize your worth in due time. Some of the most successful and influential people in history were doubted at first. Their brilliance was overlooked, their dreams dismissed, their abilities questioned. But they didn't let that stop them. They understood that just because someone else didn't see their potential didn't mean it wasn't there. They kept moving forward, refining their craft, and in the right season, the right people took notice. That's exactly what will happen for you. The mistake many people make is lowering their value to be accepted. They think, maybe if I make myself smaller, people will like me more. Maybe if I dim my light, I'll fit in better. But that's not how diamonds operate. A diamond doesn't lose its brilliance just because someone refuses to see it shine. Neither should you. Never shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Today, I encourage you to embrace your worth. You are rare, you are valuable, you are one of a kind. And whether the world acknowledges it today, tomorrow, or years from now, it doesn't change the truth. Like a diamond, your value is unshakable, undeniable, and unchanging. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences we go through in life, whether it's a job opportunity that didn't work out, a relationship that ended, or a dream that seemed to slip through our fingers. Rejection can make us question our worth, but let me remind you today, rejection is not a reflection of your value. Just because someone didn't see your worth doesn't mean it isn't there. Think about a $100 bill. If someone crumples it, throws it on the ground, or even steps on it, does it lose its value? No, it's still worth $100. You might have been rejected, overlooked, or treated unfairly, but you are still just as valuable as before. Your worth is not tied to who accepts or rejects you. It is tied to who you were created to be. Too many people allow rejection to define them. They take it personally, thinking, if they didn't choose me, I must not be good enough. If they walked away, maybe I'm not worthy of love. If I wasn't picked, maybe I don't have what it takes. But rejection is not a sign that something is wrong with you. In fact, rejection is often a sign that something better is ahead. What didn't work out wasn't meant for you. The door that closed wasn't leading you to your destiny. Look at some of the most successful people in the world: actors, entrepreneurs, inventors, and leaders. Almost all of them faced rejection at some point. They were told no over and over again. But they didn't let rejection stop them. Why? Because they understood that rejection is not final. It is simply redirection. If one opportunity didn't work out, that just means a better one is coming. If one person didn't appreciate you, that just means you were meant to be surrounded by people who do. Imagine a jeweler placing a rare diamond in front of someone who doesn't understand its worth. That person might shrug and say, I don't think this is valuable. But does their opinion change the fact that it's a diamond? Of course not. The diamond remains priceless, no matter who recognizes it. In the same way, just because someone rejects you doesn't mean you are any less valuable. Their inability to see your worth does not change your worth. Sometimes rejection happens not because you are lacking, but because you are too much for the wrong environment. You weren't created to fit just anywhere. Your gifts, your talents, your calling, they are meant for the right people, the right opportunities, the right season. Instead of feeling discouraged when rejection comes, remind yourself, this is not my final destination. I am being guided to where I truly belong. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to prove their worth after rejection. They think, if I just try harder, if I just explain myself, maybe they'll change their mind. But you don't have to convince anyone to see your value. The right opportunities and the right people will recognize your worth without you having to prove it. The rejection you face is not a loss, it's a blessing in disguise. Think of every rejection as a step forward, not a step back. Every closed door is pushing you towards something greater. Every disappointment is setting you up for something better than you imagined. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Start declaring, this is happening for me. I am being positioned for something greater. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is not a sign that you are not good enough. It is simply life's way of clearing out what isn't meant for you so that you can step into what is. Your worth remains unchanged. Your value is still intact. You are still destined for greatness. Keep moving forward, knowing that what is truly meant for you will never pass you by. Not everyone is meant to recognize your worth, and that's okay. Too many times we waste energy trying to convince the wrong people to see our value. We adjust ourselves, explain ourselves, lower our standards, hoping that if we just prove ourselves enough, they'll finally appreciate us. But let me remind you, you don't have to prove your worth to anyone. The right people will see it without you having to convince them. Think about a rare diamond placed in front of two different people. One person who understands its worth will admire, treasure it, and recognize its immense value. The other person who doesn't know what they're looking at may think it's just a shiny rock. The diamond remains the same. The only difference is the person evaluating it. Some people are simply not capable of seeing your value, but that does not mean your value is any less. Too often we take rejection personally. We think, if they didn't choose me, if they walked away, if they didn't support me, maybe I'm not good enough. But the truth is, some people are not assigned to your journey. They are not equipped to appreciate what you bring to the table. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means you haven't found the right audience. Look at some of the greatest figures in history. Artists, innovators, leaders. Many of them were doubted, criticized, and overlooked by the wrong people before they were celebrated by the right ones. Imagine if they had given up just because a few people failed to see their brilliance. The same applies to you. You are not meant to be understood by everyone, only by the ones who are supposed to be part of your journey. The right people will celebrate you, not tolerate you. They will uplift you, not make you feel small. They won't make you beg for attention, respect, or recognition. They will freely give it because they see your worth. When you are in the presence of the right people, You don't have to over-explain yourself, shrink yourself, or prove your value. They will recognize what you bring to the table without you having to beg for a seat. One of the biggest mistakes we make is holding on to people who do not see our value. We keep chasing after friendships, relationships, or opportunities that were never meant for us, trying to force something that isn't aligned with our destiny. But what if you stopped chasing and started trusting? What if you believe that when the time is right, the right people will come? When you walk in confidence, knowing your worth, you naturally attract people who respect and appreciate you. You no longer settle for less. You no longer tolerate being overlooked or undervalued. You begin to understand that it is better to walk alone for a season than to be surrounded by people who don't truly value you. If you've ever felt unseen, unappreciated, or undervalued, don't let that discourage you. Keep being your authentic self. Keep using your gifts. Keep shining your light. The right people, the ones who will uplift, encourage, and celebrate you, are on their way. You don't have to chase them. They will find you. And when they do, you will realize that you were never the problem. The wrong people just weren't capable of seeing your worth. Too many people feel the need to explain why they charge what they charge, why they set high standards, and why they pursue excellence. They feel pressured to justify their worth as if they owe an explanation for their value. But let me remind you today, you don't have to explain yourself. Own who you are. Own what you bring to the table. Own your worth. A luxury brand never apologizes for its prices. A five-star restaurant doesn't lower its standards because someone complains about the cost. A rare masterpiece doesn't decrease in value just because someone doesn't understand its worth. The same principle applies to you. Your prices, your standards, and your excellence are not up for debate. The right people will see the value without you having to convince them. When you constantly explain yourself, you are seeking validation from people who may never give it. You don't need to justify why you refuse to settle, why you won't accept disrespect, or why you demand excellence. Your worth is already established. People either respect it or they don't. And if they don't, they are simply not your audience. Think about an elite personal trainer. They don't lower their fees just because someone says that's too expensive. They know the level of transformation they bring, the expertise they've gained, and the results they deliver. The client either sees the value or they don't. The trainer doesn't argue, they stay firm. That's the mindset you need to have in every area of your life. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you step into confidence. You no longer waste energy convincing people who were never meant to understand you. Instead, you stand tall, knowing that the right people will recognize your worth without negotiation. Excellence speaks for itself. Value doesn't need an explanation. Stop explaining, start owning. Gold has been one of the most valuable and sought-after elements in history. Wars have been fought over it. Kingdoms have been built on it, and economies have been shaped by it. But here's the thing, gold has always been gold, whether people recognized it or not. Its value doesn't change based on who acknowledges it, who appreciates it, or who understands its worth. Imagine walking through an old field and stumbling upon a chunk of gold buried in the dirt. To the untrained eye, it might look like just another rock. Someone might even kick it aside, unaware of what they just dismissed. But does their ignorance change the fact that it's gold? Not at all. It's still just as valuable as it was before they overlooked it. Your worth operates the same way. Not everyone will recognize your value, and that's okay. Some people will treat you like common material, not because you aren't valuable, but because they don't have the capacity to see what you truly are. That doesn't mean you lower yourself, dim your light, or try to prove your worth. You remain gold. Too often, we make the mistake of seeking validation from the wrong people. We think if they acknowledge me, then I must be valuable. If they accept me, then I must be good enough. But true worth isn't dependent on external approval. Gold doesn't become valuable because people say so. It just is. And whether the world sees it today, tomorrow, or years from now, its worth remains unchanged. Some of the greatest minds in history were dismissed at first. Their ideas were rejected, their talents overlooked, their dreams doubted. but that didn't make them any less brilliant. They understood that their value wasn't tied to people's opinions. Eventually, the right people saw what they carried and their worth was recognized. That's exactly what will happen for you. Gold doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't try to convince anyone of its value. It simply exists in its purest form, and those who recognize its worth will seek it out. You don't have to chase people down, lower your standards, or over-explain yourself. Those who truly understand value, some may walk away, some may doubt you, and some may not appreciate what you bring to the table. But don't let that shake you. You are still gold. You are still rare, still valuable, still destined for greatness. No amount of rejection, criticism, or misunderstanding can change that. So today, remind yourself, I am gold, whether people acknowledge it or not. Stop explaining, stop proving, stop waiting for validation. Just be who you were created to be, knowing that your worth is already set. The way you see yourself determines what you attract. When you walk in confidence, knowing your worth, you naturally draw the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences into your life. On the other hand, if you doubt yourself, constantly seek validation, or lower your standards to be accepted, you will find yourself settling for less than you deserve. Confidence in your value isn't arrogance. It's alignment with who you were created to be. Think about a high-end luxury brand. They don't beg people to buy their products. They don't offer deep discounts just to be more accessible. They operate with confidence, knowing that their value will attract the right customers. They don't chase people down, people seek them out. You should carry yourself the same way. Stop trying to convince people to see your worth. The right ones will recognize it without you having to explain. People and opportunities are drawn to certainty. When you are firm in your identity, when you refuse to settle, when you carry yourself with a sense of purpose, you become magnetic. Confidence is attractive, not just in relationships, but in business, leadership, and life. The world responds to people who walk in boldness, who know what they bring to the table, and who refuse to compromise on their value. But here's the key. Confidence starts from within. You cannot expect others to see your worth if you don't see it first. If you walk around questioning whether you are good enough, talented enough, or deserving enough, people will sense that uncertainty. But when you operate from a place of assurance, knowing that you belong in the rooms you step into, doors will begin to open effortlessly. Opportunities don't always go to the most talented or the most skilled. They often go to those who believe in themselves. How many times have you seen someone with less experience, less knowledge, or less ability succeed simply because they carried themselves with confidence? Confidence bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It tells the world, I am ready for more. The right people are looking for someone who knows their worth. Employers want employees who are secure in their skills. Clients want to work with people who believe in their expertise. Relationships thrive when both individuals value themselves and bring confidence into the connection. In every area of life, confidence is the key that unlocks doors. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that being humble means downplaying their value. But true humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself accurately. You can be humble and still be confident. You can be kind and still stand firm in your worth. Confidence doesn't mean boasting or seeking attention. It means walking in quiet assurance, knowing that you are enough just as you are. If you've been waiting for someone to validate you, give you permission, or tell you that you're ready, it's time to stop waiting. You don't need approval to step into your greatness. The opportunities and people you've been praying for are already aligned with you. They're just waiting for you to fully step into your confidence. So today, make a decision. Own your value, walk with boldness, and trust that confidence will bring the right people and the right opportunities into your life. There is a confidence that comes when you truly understand your worth. It's not based on opinions, circumstances, or what others say about you. It's not something you have to fight for or prove. Your worth was already established the moment you were created. You don't have to earn it, and you don't have to defend it. You simply have to walk in it. Too often, people live their lives trying to convince others of their value. They strive for approval, work tirelessly for recognition, and adjust themselves to fit into places where they were never meant to belong. But when you walk in faith, knowing that your worth is already set, you no longer chase validation. You rest in the truth that you are already enough. Think about a masterpiece hanging in an art gallery. Its worth does not change just because someone walks past without noticing it. The painting doesn't become less valuable because one person fails to appreciate it. In the same way, your worth doesn't decrease just because someone doesn't recognize it. You were created with purpose, designed for greatness, and destined for something far beyond what others think of you. Walking in faith means trusting that you are already equipped, already positioned, already worthy of the best that life has to offer. It means believing that you don't have to settle, compromise, or beg for a seat at the table. What is meant for you will always find you because you were designed for it. There will be times when doubt creeps in, when circumstances make you question your value, when people overlook or reject you. But faith reminds you that your worth is not up for debate. It was set from the beginning, unshaken by rejection, undiminished by failure, and untouched by the opinions of others. When you walk in this truth, you move differently. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop settling for less than what you deserve. You step forward boldly, knowing that you are worthy of love, success, and abundance. Not because of anything you've done, but because of who you are. Walking in faith is not about arrogance. It's about knowing that even if doors close, even if people don't understand you, even if challenges arise, you are still valuable, you are still chosen, you are still gold, even when the world doesn't see it. So hold your head high, walk in confidence, step boldly into every opportunity, every room, and every season of your life, not because you're seeking approval, but because you already know your worth. In life, there will always be moments that challenge you to shrink back. There will be moments when others try to downplay your abilities, when situations make you question your worth, or when you're faced with doubt. But let me tell you today, never shrink back. Stand firm in who you are and let your value speak for itself. Too often, we feel the need to downplay our strengths or minimize our achievements to avoid appearing arrogant or overconfident. The deeper we feel the pressure to fit in, to be accepted, or to make others comfortable with who we are. But true confidence comes from standing firm in the truth of your worth, regardless of external pressure. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that aren't ready for your brilliance. Think about a towering oak tree in a forest. It doesn't try to make itself smaller to blend in with the surrounding shrubs. It stands tall, reaching toward the sky, regardless of what's around it. The tree doesn't apologize for its height or apologize for the shade it provides. It simply stands firm, letting its presence speak for itself. You are that tree. Stand tall in who you are. Your value doesn't require justification. When you know your worth, there's no need to prove it. You don't have to convince others of your abilities or apologize for your excellence. Your value is already established. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances will recognize it. Your work, your integrity, your consistency, all of these will speak louder than words ever could. The world is full of distractions and opinions that try to pull you in different directions. There will be voices that tell you to tone it down, to play it safe, or to blend in. But when you shrink back, you rob the world of the unique gifts and talents you were meant to share. Your greatness is not for you to hide. When you stand firm in your value, you become a beacon of light for others who need to see what it looks like to walk in confidence. It's easy to second guess yourself when others don't immediately recognize your worth. But remember, just because someone doesn't acknowledge your value doesn't mean it isn't there. Your worth is not up for debate. It is inherent. It is unchanging. You are the one who decides how you will show up in the world. You don't need permission, validation, or approval from anyone to walk in your full potential. There will always be challenges, setbacks, and criticisms, but your ability to stand firm in your value will determine how far you go. Don't allow fear, doubt, or insecurity to dictate your path. Stand strong in the knowledge that you are worthy of all the blessings, opportunities, and success that come your way. When you stand firm in your value, you begin to attract the right people and opportunities into your life. You stop wasting time trying to convince those who don't understand you and start focusing on the people who do. You start drawing to yourself the experiences that are aligned with your true worth. So from today forward, never shrink back. Stand tall, speak with confidence, and let your value shine through every action, every word, and every decision you make. Let your excellence speak for itself. When you stand firm, nothing can shake your foundation, and the world will begin to recognize the greatness you've always carried within. As we close today, remember this: you were created with immense value, and that value cannot be taken away by anyone or anything. You don't have to shrink back, explain your worth, or prove yourself. Walk in the confidence that your worth is already established, and stand firm knowing that your excellence will speak for itself. You are gold. You are a masterpiece, and you are destined for greatness. The right people will see you. The right opportunities will find you, and all you have to do is keep being true to who you are. So don't shrink. Don't settle, and never apologize for the power and the potential within you. Keep walking in faith, owning your worth, and letting your value shine in every moment. The world is waiting for the person only you can become. Step into your greatness, stand firm in your value, and watch as everything you deserve begins to come your way.